You've stood at the edge of a swimming pool and felt afraid of the deep end. Your feet couldn't touch the bottom. Something about that emptiness below you felt wrong. But the real answer is far stranger. That fear didn't come from nowhere. It came from 3 billion years of your ancestors learning, one lost limb at a time, that the deep water is not empty. It is full. Right now, less than 5% of the ocean has been explored. You live on a planet that is mostly water, and most of that water is a place no human eye has ever seen. You've mapped more of the surface of Mars than the floor of your own ocean. Below 200 meters, sunlight disappears completely. Scientists call this the midnight zone. And in that darkness, evolution didn't stop. It got creative. Think about that for a second. No light means no plants. No plants means the normal rules of life don't apply. So what fills that space instead? Everything you know about surviving comes from a world with rules you take for granted. Food grows where the sun reaches. Predators hunt what they can see. Energy is, in some form, always renewable because the sun rises again tomorrow. Strip away the sun, and every one of those rules collapses. What's left is a set of creatures that had to invent entirely new solutions to the same old problem every living thing faces. Stay alive long enough to reproduce. Bioluminescence does. Somewhere around the 4th grade, you probably learned that anglerfish glow. What you probably weren't told is why that glow is one of the most successful survival strategies in the history of life on Earth. Marine biologist Edith Wieder has spent decades studying this light in the deep sea, and her research suggests that roughly 90% of animals living below the surface can produce their own light. 90%! That's not a rare adaptation. That's the default setting for life in the dark. Your brain evolved to trust light. A glow in the distance in your ancestral environment usually meant fire or dawn or safety. In the deep ocean, that same instinct gets weaponized against you. The anglerfish's glowing lure isn't an invitation. It's a trap built on the same instinct that once helped early humans find their way home. Here's where it gets stranger. The deep sea is not just dark, it's crushing. At 1,000 meters down, the pressure on a body is over 100 times what you feel at the surface. Your lungs would collapse instantly. A submarine hull can buckle. And yet creatures thrive there, unarmored, unalarmed, completely at home in conditions that would kill you in seconds. How is that possible? Biologist Alistair Hardy and later researchers studying deep-sea physiology found that many of these organisms don't fight the pressure. They surrender to it. Their cells are filled with water, not air-filled cavities, so there's nothing inside them for the pressure to crush. Where you have lungs, they have flexibility. Where you would break, they simply compress and continue. This is the first twist your brain doesn't expect. You assume the deep sea is dangerous because it's hostile to life. It's actually the opposite. It is one of the most stable environments on the planet. No storms, no seasons, no sudden temperature swings. The surface world you live in, with its shifting weather and unpredictable disasters, is in some ways far more chaotic than the crushing black water 7 kilometers down. Think about what that stability actually means for a creature trying to survive. On land or near the surface, animals evolve constant defenses against constant change. Thick fur for winter, camouflage that shifts with the seasons, migration patterns built around unpredictable storms. In the deep sea, none of that is necessary. The temperature today is the temperature it was 1,000 years ago and will be 1,000 years from now. Evolution, given that kind of stillness, doesn't waste energy on defenses against change. It specializes instead, going all in on one perfect shape for one unchanging world. So why does it still terrify you? Because your fear isn't rational, it's ancient. Evolutionary psychologists have long studied something called the dark zone hypothesis of fear. The idea that human anxiety about the ocean depths mirrors a much older anxiety, the fear of predators lurking just beyond the edge of a campfire's light. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors survived by fearing what they could not see. The deep ocean simply moved that same fear underwater. Consider the goblin shark. It looks almost prehistoric because, in a sense, it is. Its lineage stretches back over 100 million years, mostly unchanged. A living fossil drifting through waters humans only started photographing in the last few decades. Its jaw shoots forward like a slingshot to catch prey, a mechanism so unlike anything you encounter on land that your brain has no reference point for it. There is no land animal that unhinges its face and fires it forward to catch a meal. When something violates your expectations that severely, fear isn't a bug. It's a feature. Cognitive scientist Justin Barrett has written about what's called agency detection, the mental system that assumes something is dangerous and alive first and asks questions later. It's the same system that makes you jump at a shadow shaped like a person or flinch at a stick that looked for half a second like a snake. In the deep sea, almost everything trips that alarm because almost nothing down there looks like anything your ancestors ever learned to categorize as safe. Now picture the vampire squid. Despite its name, it doesn't attack anything. It drifts. It survives in oxygen levels so low that almost nothing else can breathe there, using a metabolism so slow it barely needs to move at all. It has turned stillness itself into a survival strategy. While you associate stillness with weakness, in the deep sea, stillness is one of the most efficient ways to stay alive. That reframes something, doesn't it? On the surface, in your daily life, you're taught that movement equals progress. Hustle, grind, stay active or fall behind. But 7 kilometers down, in the Mariana Trench, the most successful organisms are often the ones that move the least, conserving every joule of energy in an environment where food might not arrive for weeks. This is the deep sea's quiet lesson. Not everything that survives does so by fighting. Some things survive by adapting so completely to conditions that would destroy anything else that stillness itself becomes armor. There's another twist waiting in these waters. You'd assume the biggest predators dominate the deepest zones, the way lions dominate a savanna. But size becomes a liability once you go deep enough. Food is so scarce in the midnight and abyssal zones that being enormous is often a death sentence. That's part of why so many deep-sea creatures are small, slow, and translucent, built to survive on almost nothing rather than built to dominate. Compare that to a coral reef near the surface, vibrant, aggressive, competitive, full of color and motion, because there's abundant sunlight and abundant food. The deep sea runs on a completely different economy. Scarcity, not abundance, writes the rules. And scarcity rewards patience, efficiency, and invisibility, not power. Isn't that the opposite of what you'd expect fear to teach you? Marine researchers exploring hydrothermal vents, cracks in the ocean floor that spew mineral-rich superheated water, found something that reshaped biology itself. Life there doesn't run on sunlight. It runs on chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria convert chemicals from the vents directly into energy. Oceanographer Robert Ballard, best known for finding the wreck of the Titanic, was part of the same era of exploration that helped confirm these vent ecosystems in the late 1970s. What his and other expeditions revealed was staggering. There is an entire ecosystem on this planet that does not need the sun to exist. Sit with that. Every textbook you were handed as a child told you that life depends on sunlight. The deep sea quietly proved that assumption wrong. It built an entire food chain out of chemistry alone. Tube worms taller than a person, blind crabs, ghostly fish, all thriving around vents in total darkness, powered by the Earth's own heat instead of a star 93 million miles away. And this discovery didn't just change biology textbooks, it changed how scientists think about life on other planets. If life on Earth doesn't actually need sunlight, if it only needs chemistry and heat, then the ice-covered moons of Jupiter and Saturn, worlds with oceans hidden under frozen shells, suddenly look a lot less empty. The thing that once terrified you in the dark corners of your own planet may be the closest model humanity has for finding life somewhere else entirely. That's the strange irony sitting at the bottom of your fear. The same darkness that once made you grip the edge of a pool a little tighter is now one of the best places scientists know to look for answers to one of the biggest questions humans have ever asked. Are we alone? So when you feel that flicker of fear at the edge of a pool or a lake or a boat rail looking down into water you can't see through, you're not being irrational. You're echoing something real. Your ancestors' instinct to fear the unknown wasn't a flaw. It was a survival tool, tuned over millions of years by a world where the things you couldn't see were often the things most likely to end you. Here's the reframe. The creatures you're afraid of aren't monsters. They're masterclasses in adaptation. The anglerfish's glow isn't malice, it's efficiency. The vampire squid's stillness isn't weakness, it's strategy. The goblin shark's alien jaw isn't horror, it's 20 million years of refinement toward a single purpose: survival in a place with almost no margin for error. You live your entire life in a thin, sunlit slice of this planet. Above you, the sky. Below you, if you're near the ocean, kilometers of pressure, darkness, and life so strange, it barely resembles anything you'd call an animal. And it's all still down there right now, doing exactly what it's always done, adapting to conditions you could never survive, using tools evolution built specifically for a world without light. Next time that fear creeps in, standing at the edge of dark water, remember what it actually represents. Not danger for its own sake, but the echo of every ancestor who survived by respecting what they couldn't see. The ocean's depths were never truly terrifying. They were only ever unfamiliar. And the moment you understand what's actually living down there, unfamiliar starts to look a lot like extraordinary.